Hi, my name is Jacob Anderson. This is my AEP 855 introduction. These pictures describe my life a little bit. Here in a nutshell, I'm going to try to make it quick. I have Mr. Anderson up on the left because I am a teacher. Below that, I have a picture of myself and my wife. I have an Xbox One logo at the top because if I'm playing video games or watching Netflix, it's probably on my Xbox. Below that, I have a picture of me wrestling because I wrestled in college and in high school. It's kind of my passion. That's what I coach right now as well. Above that, I have math symbols. I teach math. I teach algebra and geometry. Next to that, I've got a picture of me on a wake surfing board. I love water sports. That's what I like to do in the summers. And below that, I have Augustana University. That's where I went to college for 5 years when I was wrestling and getting my math and secondary education double major. My new things this year, and some of the things, these things deal with what I had to deal with COVID too. And to be honest, I didn't even have a slide with the title that said things that I've had to deal with COVID because we've been in school. We haven't really, I live in South Dakota and we have not been out of school this year. So I can't really say that I've had any crazy experiences with COVID. The only issues that I usually have are the kids that go home for 2 weeks and come back. Some of them are unprepared, but most of them are pretty prepared because of this first thing that I have listed here, which is Google Sites. I'm all over the Google Sites right now. I have a specific one for my algebra class, my geometry class, and even my wrestling team. And we're competing athletically as well in South Dakota. We have been for some time now. So like I said, there's not much different here in South Dakota with COVID, which I feel like is pretty awesome. So Google Sites have been awesome, really easy to make. The parents seem to love it. Moving on to the next one, Alex. Alex is a website that I use for my math classes, specifically algebra and geometry. And a couple of cool things is, first of all, obviously you can give homework on it. It's a homework site, but you can also do other things such as have these students fill out a pie chart. And the pie chart is tailored to them specifically. So if they take a knowledge check at the beginning, and depending on how well they do on that knowledge check, that kind of takes its form and it pulls up topics for them that they can complete until they get their pie chart completed. If their pie chart's completed, that means they're done with the course. So it adapts to each student. It's awesome. Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter for the wrestling team, and it's bringing in a lot of attention to the program, which is awesome. And designing signs. I'm doing a little bit of designing online, not too much, but a little bit of designing. So those signs are going to go up in the wrestling room, and they're hopefully going to be an inspiration to the kids. So we'll see how that goes. 3 types of mindsets. So all students can learn and grow. Social capital and teamwork will always outperform individual talent, and happiness is a choice. Those mindsets are pretty impressive. I would say that third one there is something that, I never really even thought of it like that before. Happiness is a choice. And I really, really like that one. But the number one is also awesome. All students can learn and grow. I think that's a big fact that I tell all of my students when they walk into the room at the beginning of the year. Anybody in here can pass the class. It's just kind of going to take some work. And for some people, it takes more work than others. 5 dispositions. Confidence. So despite critics, which there always is going to be critics, you have to have confidence in what you're doing. Being a risk taker and decisive, being able to try new things. Sense of humor. So less stress with humor, and there's more de-escalation of situations if you have a good sense of humor. Empathetically assertive, being fair and consistent, but understanding where your students are coming from. And then being a learner, and I have in parentheses there, and considers themselves to be. So as soon as I become the teacher that doesn't need to be the learner anymore, that's when I need to stop teaching. Being a learner is very, very important to being a teacher. Practices. Focus and prioritizing. The courage to say no and stick to your goals. I think that's really important, being able to say no to certain things and sticking to what your goals are. Examining feedback and data, being able to collect, review, and then act on that data. That's something that I feel like a lot of teachers miss, being able to act on the data after you've collected it and reviewed it, because it takes an extra step, a little bit of work. And then emotional intelligence. Every interaction is important. That goes with students, principals, colleagues. Every single interaction is important, and it kind of will send their day in a different direction if you give them the right interaction. The 8 principles of ethical leadership. You guys can read through the list. I just wanted to talk about a couple here. Recognizing talent. I like that one. And then I also like, what was the one that I wanted to talk about? Sensitivity and understanding. Being able to be an understanding teacher and a colleague can really, really make the workplace a better place to be, and can help your students want to come to school and participate as well, being understanding of certain things. If you're not understanding, you're kind of just shutting them out right away and kind of closing off a relationship. So I'm going to talk about a couple more of those here in a little bit as well. Self-evaluation. My self-evaluation, when I went through these, I tried to draw one from each that I'm mostly successful at, and then one that needs some work. In terms of my mindset, I think I'm successful in knowing that all students can learn and grow, because I do truly believe that. In my class, if you come in there, I truly do believe that you can learn and you can grow, and I even believe that you can pass the class, which isn't even what that mindset is saying. It's saying you could come in at 0% and being able to learn and grow up to a 20%. That's something that, yes, obviously you can do. But I'm saying you can learn and grow at a rate that would be passable for my classes. Dispositions. Having a sense of humor and being empathetically assertive. I had to choose 2 of them there. I do think that my sense of humor is valued in my classes. I think my students enjoy coming in there because I can have a sense of humor with them. And then being empathetically assertive, being fair with them is another thing that I know they really take seriously, because if I'm not fair, they will call me out on it. They are freshmen and sophomores in high school, and they will call me out on it. I guarantee that. So some of the practices, such as examining feedback and data. Of course, I'm going to examine my feedback and data, and then I'm going to apply it. And that's something that I feel like I do pretty well at. We do a lot of concept quizzes in math, so we're looking at data and examining feedback all the time. But then we apply it usually the next day after we take the concept quiz, and show them what they did wrong, or make them check their work themselves and then fix it themselves. Last one here, recognizing talent. I think that's really important, and I do think I'm pretty successful at it. Being able to recognize talent, meaning I obviously can recognize the talent in my class. It's listed in the grade book. But being able to recognize talent in the workplace, such as the people that I work with in the math department, if I notice that somebody else is doing something better than I do it, I can recognize that, and I can ask them for support, and they can help me with that. A couple of things that need some work. I do think for the mindset, I think happiness is a choice. I do believe that personally, but I don't think I apply that every single day and every single class period in my day. So I want to put that on my desk or something, because I really like that. Dispositions. Being a risk taker and decisive. I'm not very good at being a risk taker. I do try, but sometimes it's hard to get out of your old habits. Emotional intelligence. With every single interaction, I can't say every interaction. Most of my interactions, I try to have a good positive attitude going into them. But sometimes if I'm having a bad day, if I'm not using the happiness as a choice mindset, I don't think every single interaction is going to be mutually beneficial. So, and then inclusiveness. I'm a sports guy, so the students that I usually get along with the most and the teachers that I get along with most are also sports people. So I just know that I need to be a little bit more inclusive in my interactions. For the standard application here, I'm not going to read through that, but the standard correlation we have talked about, and I have performed a self-evaluation on the mindsets, dispositions, and practices and principles of ethical leadership. The relevance. By completing an evaluation, I have a list of qualities that I can begin to work on in the classroom and around the workplace. And then my final reflection, Let me get this pointer out of the way here. I realized that there were quite a few aha moments that I probably knew were important qualities in a professional teacher, but may not have been explicitly listed. So now I may begin to integrate them into my work. Lastly, I've got my references listed here for you. I'm excited to work with you all and learn from you all as we go through this course.